Yeah, this is so stressed. Yeah. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4:09 p.m. Start with the land recognition statement. Student government acknowledges that we live, work, and learn in the homeland of the Dakota people, whose language frames our institution's name, Minnesota State University, Mankato. And then I'm going to go into roll call, and folks on Zoom, I can see that you're on Zoom. So Senator Hassan, Senator Leone, Senator Franson is on Zoom, Senator Mucci, Senator Prignitz, Senator Emke is also on Zoom, Senator Ponte.
Here.
Senator Bugney. Senator Reyes.
Here.
Senator Maega.
Here.
Senator Thapa. Senator Mpanga.
Here.
Senator Lee. Senator Dietrich.
Here.
Senator Smith.
Here.
Senator Green. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Moore. Alrighty. Senator Maba's on Zoom. Senator Knauer is also on Zoom. Senator Karki. Not see. Senator Livingston.
Here.
Senator Riggle.
Here.
Senator Colleran.
Present.
Senator Zelmer.
Present.
Senator Ide.
Present.
Senator Hillstead.
Here.
Senator Isaac is on Zoom. I'm here. President Narella. And then Vice President Jay is also on Zoom, and we have a quorum. So going into the approval of the consent agenda, is there any dissent to the consent agenda? Any dissent? Already seeing none, the consent agenda has been approved. So then we will go into open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? Alrighty, seeing none, then we will move into our dean of the day, and it actually got switched to Dr. Aaron Budge, still from the College of Allied Health and Nursing, right? No, wait, School of Applied Agriculture,
There you go.
that one, sorry.
Thank you. I'm covering on relatively short notice. Dean Marincek is sick. She's been home with a fever for the last couple of days. So came to me last night and said, would you be able to go on my behalf? So I'm not really here on behalf of Allied Health and Nursing. I'll just share a quick update relative to the School of Applied Agriculture, Food and Natural Resources. I was here in the fall and shared with some of you that at that point we had just launched the school, the new school. Trying to pull together a lot of the agricultural related programming across the campus, which has been fantastic to be part of. I've had some really good interest from the faculty members, from the student organizations and so on. So we appreciate that support. And there are some changes underway. Obviously, the agribusiness and food innovation program is going to have a fairly substantial overhaul in the near term. We're hoping to have some really positive improvements relative to some industry needs and other things that are suggested to make that a much more robust program. The agronomy program has gotten off really well, so a brand new program this year. This is the first year we've had the agronomy program on campus in partnership with South Central College. Have a great group coming from South Central coming this year, and we actually have 6 or 8 students that are MSU students taking courses at South Central right now. So again, it's a two-way street. So we've got students going both directions, taking classes at South Central from our campus and vice versa with students from South Central coming our direction, especially in the fall. So looking forward to having more of those opportunities moving forward. Obviously, from a student perspective, it makes sense to have as cost-effective an education as you can have. So having that opportunity to be taking classes on either campus and or potentially other campuses throughout the system is a very powerful tool. So if you have any other suggestions, we are looking at potentially developing a new program relative to more general natural resources. We have an environmental science class that's pretty specific, trying to broaden that somewhat. So there may be some conversations in the near term relative to what that might look like, working again with some industry leaders that have recommended some opportunities for us to grow in the natural resources field. So some neat opportunities in front of us. And again, the ag community as a whole has been very, very receptive to us having a more visible presence relative to the agricultural industry. So appreciate your thoughts and efforts and anything that we can do to help bring anything to pass relative to the student agenda. Happy to have those conversations. So didn't want to take significant time, but any questions that you may have for me relative to the school and or the agriculture, food, and natural resources?
Questions, Senator Dietrich?
Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I had a question about
how your college is reaching out to like high schools in like the region, because through research I've done, there are a lot of high schools that have agricultural programs for their students. And so have you reached out to those high schools and like talked to them about the fact that we have this new program at MNSU?
Great question. Thank you for that. I personally have been at only 4 in the last 2 months, with 3 pending in the next few weeks. So yes, I have myself, but there are also several others that I'm working with. Jeremy Jeske is the director for the Institute for Renewable and Regenerative Agriculture, or AgriScience. He and I have kind of tag teamed. We haven't gone to a lot of the same places, but between the two of us, we've already been to about 7 high schools in the last month and a half, 2 months, with about 4 more again pending in the next few weeks. We're also participating in the state FFA convention that will be held at St. Paul on the University of Minnesota campus here in 3 weeks. So we'll see literally 6,000 students that are participating in FFA at that event alone. I also met with the Region 6 group for the FFA high school instructors about a month ago. So yes, short answer, yes, we're trying to make some of those connections both with the students and with the teachers associated with the ag programming throughout the region, at least, not necessarily the full state yet, but at least in the southern Minnesota region. Great question.
Any other questions? Alrighty, seeing none, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So then up next on our agenda is presentations, and our first presentation is the technology fee with Brian. So you can come on up and then you can share your screen.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Schneider, Assistant CIO and Director of Tech Services and IT Solutions. And I want to do 4 things today. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my PowerPoint presentation works. There we go. First thing I want to do is thank our senators that are serving on the Technology Fee Committee. They're doing an excellent job this year. They're asking a lot of questions. They're learning about technology from end to end at the university and the services that we provide. And they're giving us great consultation and feedback. So if you have any ideas of how we can improve technology and the services that we do, talk to these senators. And at the same time that you're talking to them, you can find out what the heck they're doing in a place that says dead end corridor, no exit. You can say, what is the story behind that one? All right. Second thing I want to do is give you a pop quiz. Looking at this part of the university, what kind of technology do you think is involved in this area? Well, there's the blue light emergency phone. We have an underground fiber cable that connects the bell tower to the campus network. There's a little computer inside the bell tower that plays an MP3, that's the bells. So there's no bells up there, it's just an MP3 that plays. There's some LED lights at the top that somebody in University Advancement can go on their phone and they can change the color of those LED lights depending on what the occasion is. And finally, there's water sprinklers on the grounds that are connected or controlled by computers and connected to our wireless network. So the story here is that there's technology almost everywhere at the university, and IT Solutions can't possibly pay for all that technology. The departments and colleges buy their own technology, but then they plug it into our infrastructure, and we support it as best we can. We make sure that the software is updated and secure. If it goes down, we try to get it back up again and make it work. And then they pay for their portion. I have to say that the university pays some of the most expensive bills for software and technology at the campus. Things like they pay for Workday, student record system, D2L, EAB, and things like that. So the really expensive software, the university pays for that as a whole. And then the rest of it, IT Solutions pays for. So the third thing that I'm going to talk about is IT budget and tech fee. So looking at our division, we get our main source of funding by the general fund. We have student tech fees that we collect. MnSTATE gives us $500,000 every year for infrastructure replacement costs. Institutional equipment is $1 million that's available to all college departments to submit for grants, and we submit for that as well to try to get some matching funds for equipment that we purchase. So that's one other funding source. Our computer store buys and sells computers. So that's a funding source, a revenue source. And then service level agreement income is money that departments pay us and also other min-state schools, they give us to provide services that we normally wouldn't provide. So those are our revenue sources. Combined, it's about $13.3 million. And the breakdown of that is about half of it comes from our general fund and about 22% of it comes from student technology fees. So now we're going to start looking at the expenses, how the money is spent. If you look at all of those accounts together, it's the one on the left. It's about 62% salary and the rest of it is stuff. A lot of people like to see just how much of our expenses go to salary and how much of it goes to everything else. If you just look at technology fee and general fund, it's about 77% goes to salary and 23% of it goes to everything else. So that's our breakdown. So now we're going to start zeroing in on how tech fees are spent. And to understand that, you actually have to, when we talk about where tech fees are spent, you have to look at our org chart. Because all the money comes in at the vice president level, and then it's split out into different areas depending on the services that we provide. So 40% of your tech fees goes into classroom equipment, so projectors, cameras, speakers, screens, and things like that, and the people that support them. Also computer labs and the computers in those labs and the software that runs on those computers, and also things like D2L support. So that's 40% of your tech fees go there. 22% of your tech fees come into my area, the infrastructure area, and that pays for part of the networks, part of the servers, storage. Mostly though, it goes for paying software subscriptions and maintenance contracts for the software and hardware. Another area is 10% of it goes to our solution center so that we have students that help take care of your computer problems to make sure that your software is working, you have this proper software, and if you have computer problems, you can get that solved. Then we break it out into smaller areas. Your tech fee goes into each of these areas as well. So that's where your tech fees are used. And now putting everything together again and looking at just what your tech fees pay for, about $1.6 million of your tech fees pays for software and licensing and maintenance contracts. So that's the biggest expense that we have. The next biggest area is it pays for our student employees. So we have between 40 and 80 students that work for us every year. And they bring us just a tremendous amount of skills. They do everything from web application development and support to information security. We have some that do video production, video streaming. Let's see, our support staff in the classrooms, so our support students in the classroom. So if you're having a problem, they respond within 5 minutes. We have, they take care of our labs and lab computers, make sure that they're all working and get them up fixed if they're broken. We also have marketing and information students. And I already mentioned information security students as well. So we have a lot of students, and we really depend on the skills that they bring to us because we wouldn't be able to do all the services that we have right now without our students. Most of our students are international students that can't work off campus, so we employ them. And we think it's a really good use for student technology fees. Students pay tech fees. We use those tech fees to hire students and provide services. And that way it helps pay for their college and their expenses. And by the time they graduate, they've got a degree, but they also have maybe 4 years of experience working for a professional IT organization. So that helps them get that interview and that first job. So we think that's a real win-win situation for tech fees. The other green bar is for full-time staff. We have a number of staff that take care of technology in the classrooms and the labs, and they also hire the students, coach, and supervise the students as well. So we have a number of full-time staff that provide that. Over on the far left, Supplies and equipment is $387,000 last year. What that is networking, cabling, and supplies. It's some of the smaller equipment in classrooms, like projectors and screens, audiovisual equipment. The next biggest area is large equipment, and that includes computers and servers. That's classified as large equipment. We had a couple of Macintosh labs that the Macs were end of life and had to be replaced, so it was kind of a big investment last year in Mac equipment. And then other purchase services are two areas. One of them I can talk about. We had so much networking that had to be done that we have to hire an outside company to come in and help us with that. So we pay for that under other purchase services. That's classified as that. And the other area is cybersecurity, and I'll talk about that in the Q&A at the end. Okay. So that's what your tech fees go for. Now a history lesson. So the purple bars are the tech fee. We started out many years at $7 a credit, and you see that about 13 years ago or so, we increased the tech fee that students are paying, and then about every other year, we've been increasing that tech fee. All right, so that's the history of it, and you're currently paying $13 a credit. So the green line is actually the total revenue that tech fees have brought in. Now, if you look and see what it was collected the last couple of years, it's about the same revenue as it was about 10 years ago. Well, how can it be that we're bringing in the same revenue, but tech fees have gone up by so much? Well, the gold bars are the actual enrollment. So enrollment has been steadily decreasing, right? But at the same time, if you look way up at the top, we have a lot more buildings now with technology in them than we ever had before. We have Julius Sears, Presca, the Hubbard Building, Clinical Science Building has a ton of technology in it. Dining Center has just a little bit technology as well as the dome, but we also just brought online the Center for Rural Mental Health that's over in University Square, as well as the Maverick Innovation Gateway. So we have a lot more buildings, more networks, more technology, but we have about the same tech fee revenue that we did about 10 years ago, 10, 11, 12 years ago. So how does your tech fee compare to other colleges and universities? State colleges, the average is about $11 a credit. State universities, the average is about 13. So we're pretty close, right, with the average. But that really doesn't tell the whole story of tech fees. Because as you know, you have banded tuition and you have banded fees, but some of the other universities do not. So if you look at a student that takes 16 credits here and 16 credits at all of our sister institutions, what you see is that students here are paying less tech fees than students at the other college or the other universities. And the neat thing is, if you know anybody that goes to Winona and they brag to you that they go to Winona and every other year they get a new laptop for free, here's the true truth is that for that laptop, they have to lease that, and that's $485 a semester. So every semester, a student taking 16 credits there pays $602, where you pay $156. So you tell me, who's the smarter student? All right, some technology facts. You buy technology, and then it has to be maintained. We have to make sure that the technology software devices are secured, patched, updated, and when it breaks, we have to respond to fix it. Now, IT solutions, we don't buy all the technology, but we try to support it throughout the campus, wherever it is. But eventually it becomes end-of-life technology. They don't provide support or software updates on it, so then we have to get rid of it. So we can no longer assume the risk because software vulnerabilities and hackers are finding new ways of breaking in all the time. So when the vendor says it's no longer supported, we have to replace it. We have to get rid of it. I don't have time to go through the recent projects or the current projects. You can look at that. But I do want to point out the one on the bottom. Within the next year, we have to replace about half of our network. And that's going to be a pretty major expense. So that's the bad news. And the bad news is, last year we just replaced our servers and storage, so we paid for some of that out of pocket, and then I had to take out a loan for the rest of it. So that was about $539,000 we had to take out a loan, and we have to pay that back over the next 5 years. But coming up within the next year, we're going to have an expense of having to replace the network equipment, and that's going to be about $1.2 million. So we don't have enough to pay for that out of pocket, and we don't have a reserve. So that I'm going to have to take out a loan, either through the university or a different outside source, and we're going to have to pay that back over 9 years. Then the year after that, part of our wireless network has to be replaced, so I'll have to take out a loan on that, and for a while we'll be paying a loan on 3 different groups of technology. So that's going to be kind of a hardship for a couple of years until we get over that hump. So that's the bad news. Last thing I want to do is bring you some good news. What we're proposing for the tech fee next year is to keep it flat at $13 a credit, same as it is right now. And the reason for that is we understand the financial pressure that students are under, because you have increased rent, insurance, food, entertainment. We recognize that some of the other student fees, they need increases this year just to help with inflation. And we also understand that students are being asked about tuition increase and band increase. So we don't want to get in the way of any of that. You have more important things to worry about. So we're proposing to keep the tech fee at $13 a credit next year. And I hope you agree with me on that. Okay. So that's the presentation. Now I'm going to switch to Q&A. These are some of the questions that our tech fee committee asked, and I'll get those out of the way right away. First one is, do we have a reserve for tech fees? And we don't have a reserve. But any surpluses that we have carry forward to the next year, and any deficits that we have carry forward to the next year. Another question that they had was, this current year, if you remember back, we increased tech fees from $12 to $13 a credit. And we also made a change so that totally online students for the first time pay tech fees too. So the question they had is, how much was it and how was it used? And I'm kind of sorry to say that I can't tell you how much revenue we've collected yet, because there has been a problem. The students have been paying their tech fees, but it hasn't been able to feed those tech fees that people have paid into Workday and into our budgets. So the system office and the budget office can't tell us how much revenue we've collected, but it should be more than it was the previous year, but we don't know by how much yet. So how was the additional funding used? Another thing that happened in the last year, we had some planned expenses because we had to replace our servers and our storage, but we also had the Mac labs that we had to replace a bunch of Macintoshes with, but we also had some unanticipated expenses too. So over the past year and a half, within Minnesota and the surrounding states, several of the colleges and universities were hit by cyber attacks, okay? So what we did was, after these schools recovered from it and they had a little time to catch up on sleep and get everything else taken care of, we went and visited with these schools. And we talked to them along with Homeland Security and the FBI. So what we specifically asked them is, how did you know that there was a problem, that it was going to be a really big problem? What did you have to do to stop the bleeding, to mitigate the spread of that when it happened? Some of these are ransomware attacks, if you've heard of that. And they took some of these institutions down for either days or even weeks, where they had to cancel classes, right? We also asked them, what do they have to do to make sure that bad actors were out of the environment? And only then, after you're sure that they're totally out of your environment, that they're not hiding somewhere, then you can start recovering and rebuilding everything. And when you start recovering and building, what was the priority? What did they have to bring up first? And how did that go? And then what were they able to recover as far as data? We also asked them, knowing now what you know now, if you could go back, what would you have done different to prepare for this, to either stop it from happening or mitigate it so that it wasn't that bad? So we took all that information that we got, we brought it back here and we had to buy some hardware, some cybersecurity software. We also had to bring in some cybersecurity experts to help us review things and put things together in a more secure way. And we also had to do some audits and change some of our policies and procedures. So we did a lot of that work over the past year, but we didn't really stop there. We're continuing to take what we learned and bring that to the departments. So it's me and my staff, our information security person, university security, and environmental risk management. We're going department by department and doing some disaster planning with them. So part of that is making them aware of the threats and the disasters that can happen, helping them put together a plan so that when a disaster does happen, that we can continue operations and then find out what is the most important thing that we have to recover and bring back up in case of a disaster. And this could be any disaster, not just a cybersecurity attack, but any kind of disaster. So this is called continuity of operations planning. And we're doing that with our departments to make sure that if something does happen, that you can continue your education and that doesn't get interrupted. And that we can protect the students and your data as well. So part of that investment, part of that deficit was because we had to do some unplanned investing in the cybersecurity area, but that's to make sure that we're more resilient and protected from that happening. All right. Another question was, there's talk about expanding the band from 12 to 13 credits. And what would the tech fee be? And the tech fee would be $13 a credit. So those students that take 13 credits or more would end up paying an extra $13 or an extra $13 for that credit. But that money would help take care of this deficit and also help pay for all the equipment replacements that are coming in the future. So I hope you agree that we'd like to keep the tech fee this year or next year at $13 a credit. And then a year from now, I'll come back and we'll see where we're at and we'll talk about what the tech fee should be next year. And with that, I answered some questions, but I'll stand for others.
Are there any questions? Senator Zelmer?
Hi, thanks for coming. I was wondering, you had mentioned on having to replace older tech, like the computers and stuff. Do we have a recycling process in place for that, and does it cost us anything?
Yep, great question. So the computers that we have, usually by the time we get rid of them, they're probably 6 or 7 years old, and they really aren't worth anything anymore. So we do have a company that comes in and collects them and scrubs them and destroys them.
Does it cost us for that?
It does cost us some, but we get money from selling it to them, but then we get some money back. And I don't know what it is. That's actually, I think, out of David Cowan's budget. Oh. But it is several thousand, tens of thousands of dollars. But like I say, if we do surplus anything that has of any value at all, they pay us for that technology, but we also have to pay to get rid of the stuff that's not worth anything. So it does end up costing tens of thousands of dollars, but it's not enormous.
Are there any other questions? This is your second and final question.
Yeah.
Senator Zelmer?
So when will we find out how much additional funding was generated by that $1 increase last year?
When I find out, I can let you know.
Sure, thanks.
Any other questions? Alrighty, seeing none, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Up next, we have the sustainability fee. Yeah, I can.
Hi everybody, I am Dikshant Thapa. I'm the chair for Sustainability Fee Committee,
And I'm Ted Knight. I'm a member on the Sustainability Committee.
and today we're here to present the fee proposal for FY26. Next slide.
Speak louder.
Next. Okay. So introduction to Sustainability Committee at MNSU. So Sustainability Committee is a student-led group focused on promoting sustainability initiative on campus, and it supports projects that are aimed to increase environmental awareness and sustainable practice among students themselves. Next slide. Sorry, a little computer trouble up here.
All right. So some of the benefits of funding that we actually get because of the Sustainability Committee is that one of the main ones, and you can actually see this on the printout that we handed, is one of the main things that student government advertises is that we offer free busing with the MAV cards for all students that go here. This not only encourages the sustainable transportation and also reduces the carbon footprint of the university, but it also supports inclusivity because it allows free transport for not just students, but anybody who relies on public transport, and it allows a little bit more access to the actual community as well.
We also provide support for disabled riders, which also enhances funding provides reliable transport for disabled students to medical appointments and essential services. These services have been provided for the students, and not only them, but also everyone who has access to MAV card. So like all faculty members and staff members with MAV card can get access to free shuttle services all over the campus. We have expanded weekend routes that have been implemented, which help students not only access those shuttles during school days or during weekdays, but also during weekends and other stuff. We have also implemented new timings where the shuttles are present for later hours in the day, which are like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. as well, which also helps students with a lot of accessibility.
Additionally, with that, we're also increasing the route availability for the weekend routes and the summer routes. You can see on the handout, there's a front page that says schedule effective May 2025 and August to August 2025. They are increasing the route and the timing of the Route 1, which is the route that goes towards Walmart and a lot of the other shopping centers and services. The increase in funding would help maintain the reliable transport routes to these shopping centers and also essential services, because a lot of students aren't able to get to these areas without a car because of the distance away from campus. This ensures that students have access to the necessities that are needed, as Walmart is one of the major retailers at Mankato. Roll through these.
My bad.
No worries. That was on us.
Oh, no. Okay, that should be good.
So the future of sustainability at MNSU. For this year, we're projecting a budget increase for 22 cents for the 1.66 credit hour over the existing 1.44 credit hour. With this, we'll have enough to generate and cover the carryover shortfall from 2023-2024 as well. And the fee increase will also ensure the continued availability of busing services of all the students at Mankato State University and the staff with access to MAV card. As you can see in the transit query ridership, we can see that we're actually touching back to the numbers from pre-COVID time. So a lot of students actually rely on busing and shuttle for their daily commute or daily activities as well. Also, Sustainability Fee Advisory Committee SPAC is also present there, which reviews and plans a sustainable project and initiative brought up to university. For an example, we have two pictures from Wiking Center that could potentially work as one of the projects that we are looking forward to. And we have a proper guideline that helps a different university how do you call it? It helps different departments to actually apply for project that they want us to review and fund.
Additionally, if you look at the transit quarterly ridership, it shows how much that the bus system actually relies on MSU riders. We are a significant contributor towards the ridership, and as such, we have to.
Thank you. Next slide, any questions?
One more.
Oh. Any questions for the sustainability fee? No questions? John. I'll yield to John, whatever.
May I just ask a
Clarifying question, just
so
so
you're
to
requesting
go to 166 credit hour, which would put it at the system cap. Okay, that's banded at $20, or that's the system cap is $20 per semester, and so that's what gets there. So just to make sure that people understand that that's where this is going, is to go to that cap. So
It goes to $19.92.
Yep. So just to make sure that students understand that that's where it's going.
What would the percent be?
The percent would be 15.
Can
Yeah.
we yield to David for clarification?
No, yeah, it would be 15%, but at the same time, it's 15% of the dollar. So it's like we're talking about 22 cents here. That for which we have also allocated a summer schedule where, if you can see this tag with red line, you can see that there is a route number 1 that will be continuing throughout the summer for students, which we were able to get in a joint further increase.
And additionally with that, last year we did not have that access to Route 1, so we are essentially creating an entire route. And Route 1 is also picking up other routes. If you look at the current year plan, there's Route 15, which goes to Tanager Path Skylark Trail, and Route 1 is going to be absorbing that part of the route. So not only are we increasing the availability for the buses, but we're also allowing more people to now go to these areas and get bused around. That is an important reason because we have a lot of students, specifically international students, that spend their time here over the summer who aren't able or choose not to travel home. So that really ensures that they are allowed to continue to use the bus and get around to Mankato.
Senator Dietrich.
Sorry if you've already kind of said this, but so the reason for the increase is to keep Route 1 for future summers?
No. The reason for the increase is not just to keep Route 1. It's also a benefit that we are getting on top of it. But the increase is to actually sustain and maintain the entirety of busing. It's not just for one.
That's one of the parts of the increase. There's numerous reasons for the increase, but that's one of the pieces. I don't know if we fully mentioned it as well, but from this comparably last fiscal year to this year, or 23 to 24 compared to 24-25, we have increased the weekend hours of the busing, so that allows more people to get around on the weekend. David, do you have any information you'd like to share on that, on the previous weekend compared to this year's weekend routes? We yield our.
Yeah, much on Saturday and Sunday, not service on Saturday and Sunday. They had to hire a scheduler. They had to hire bus drivers. And the cost of drivers is not cheap. They have a labor contract with the city of Mankato, and that's not going down, folks. That will go up. And this contract these guys are talking about is 25-26. So we anticipate, we don't have a bill yet, but we anticipate that the city's costs will certainly go over the $591,000 that we'll be paying this year. So that's just a cost of doing business, and I want to be a bus driver when I grow old.
And that's one of the tricky parts, is that we are under contract, so we're not able to get that surefire answer just yet, not until they meet us.
President Narala.
So tell me if I'm doing the math right. Currently, we're at 144, it's a 22 cent per credit jump over to 166, which translates over to a $2.64 of a net increase for a full-time student.
Yes.
Awesome. I had a second question to what David mentioned. I know we're hitting at the cap of sustainability fee and it supports the green transportation across town. Has the committee discussed what alternatives we're looking at following 2 years down the road because we're already gonna be at the cap? Has the committee discussed other revenue sources to support busing services for our students?
Busing services already has some other revenues like running advertisements on the bus themselves, right? Which a lot of departments are aware about, can put up. Like there was a picture where student government themselves had their poster on the bus themselves. So there are some other revenue ideas from the city department themselves. But for us, we have not discussed it yet, but we'll get back to you.
And something to possibly ease the concerns over that matter is that we're also not the only revenue source for the busing system, am I correct to say that? So they're also following other increases in those other areas that are contributing towards that fund. So there, that'll alleviate that a little.
I just wanna clarify, President Norrell's question. It's not like the busing system as a whole, like how is that being funded? It's the fact that the sustainability fee is funding the buses. So once the sustainability fee caps out at the max and you can't collect more money, what are you gonna do to make up that difference?
Raise enrollment.
Like, how are you gonna pay for the busing that way? I think that's the question I was trying to ask, is have you thought of different ways to pay off the MSU balance once you hit that cap?
Yeah, for now, I mean, David could help you answer that question.
Well, all partners, as already mentioned, parking kicks in $58,500. It used to be $37,000, now it's $58,000. Res Life used to kick in $53,000, now they're at $74,000. The administration, the old Stomper Express used to kick in $56,000, now they're at $64,000. So it's not like they have been untouched. These other partners have already been tapped. Now, can they be tapped again and again and again? There's some limits, of course, to what can be done. But there's negotiations that have to occur this June and May. And we don't know what the city's going to be hitting us with.
And that's kind of why we're asking for the increase as well.
Before the negotiation happens.
We just wanted to clarify that. Senator Livingston.
Are we contracted to subsidize a certain proportion of bus revenue for compared to with the city? Because the city's like the primary I guess to whatever. But I was wondering, because you said we subsidize part of the busing operation. Are we obligated to, from the whole piece of the pie, we're a piece of the pie, is there a certain threshold we have to meet, I guess, with compared to the city? Does that make sense?
We have 40% that we contribute to. The rest is contributed by City of Mankato and City of
City of Mankato kicks in self-generated receipts at $1.50 per ride are also part of it. Advertising on the buses is part of it. North Mankato kicks in 11%. I can't exactly say.
But we chip in 40%.
You chip in 40%.
Is that contractual? Like, are we supposed to be meeting a certain quota when it comes to like proportion of who's chipping in with the operations of the buses?
That's a negotiated piece, and since this is electronic, I don't want to give away everything to the other side.
And we help pay for that portion as we enjoy the services of free bus rides across town and into North Mankato.
I was wondering if there's a hard number though that we're supposed to be like contracted to give.
They provide us with receipts every year, and that's what we pay into. If you wanna see those numbers, we can definitely pull those in after the meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
for clarification, are you
Is
saying
there like a specific
monetary value or
Percentage,
just a
monetary value,
specific
some
percentage?
number of that.
As far as I know.
But it goes by receipts, I guess, because we're technically paying for like a pass. So I guess, anyway.
Yeah, we'll get an invoice, and we'll have to pay the invoice, and I hope we'll have the money to do it.
And additionally, looking at the slideshows, it shows how much that not only the city, but we rely on the bus service. Specifically looking again at that transit quarterly, a significant portion of the graph is actually MapCard users. I believe if I'm reading this right, it's at least 150,000 riders per quarter.
And then we're going back to the pre-COVID numbers, so it will start costing more to maintain. That is the reason that we are requesting for this 22-cent increase.
And then Senator Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Very good job. I don't actually have a question. I just wanted to add a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yep.
For the last several weeks, the committee has been putting in most of its effort towards planning this presentation and the ask of the 22-cent increase. We have been discussing ways to create or increase revenue by other ways. And over the next several weeks, the rest of the semester, the committee will be discussing some of those in greater detail.
I can't fully recall, sorry. I can't fully recall, but I mentioning what Bob just said, I believe that the city's also looking at ways to increase revenue.
Sell the tires on the buses, that was the last thing.
So they're looking at more ways as well.
And Senator Zellman, this is your second and final question. Yeah, you were first on the list.
Yeah, so you had just said like with the city trying to get those tires for the revenue, are there any other ways that you've heard of them trying to increase their own revenue, or also talking with like South Central and how they can have their own kind of sustainability fee?
So for South Central, the last time we had a meeting with SETI, what they told us that South Central buys passes in bulk and then sells it to our students. So they are already contributing in it, and they have a even though they are not chipping in for the big percentage, they are still doing it in a very small number of passes and coupons that they just use to give it to students.
Because South Central is in a different, it's in Mankato, but it's still in a different region, in a different area,
then,
so they rely on it in a different way than we do.
Yeah, and South Central only gets one route towards themselves, while we are, if you can see, mainly all of the routes are focused on Mankato, like Minnesota State University Mankato, and every single one of them actually was made for all the students.
But we're not subsidizing South Central, if that's where this question is headed.
Are there any other questions for the sustainability fee? Alrighty, seeing none, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and last but not least, we have the student union fee. Would you all like me to share your presentation? Or are you sharing it yourselves?
Oh, could you have it up on the screen? Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today we are presenting CSU budget presentation for the next fiscal year 2026. I am Noreen, CSU chairperson of the CSU board.
And hello everyone. In case you don't know me, I'm Andrew Colleran, the vice chair of the CSU board.
Next slide, please.
Can we skip this?
This year we have 4 members in our committee. In addition to me and Andrew, we have Nimesh Bashnath and Ishan Newton.
If in CSU we have, I want to say 8 primary staff members, like just making sure the CSU works really well and we're able to have a strong administration, goal plan, marketing, facilities, and operations. So as you see here are the 8 operating people who are making CSU happen on a higher level. Next slide, please.
There we go. Well, I am excited to share some of key highlights from this year. We are re-energizing CSU 212-204 based on the Minnesota culture and environment. And this will gonna update will gonna create a good functional space and also more inviting in this room. And also we have completed summer 2024 window replacement. We are also introducing CSU food pop-up rotation. By that we are like providing various diverse food to students, staff, and faculty. We are also updated our annual best boards to showcase and recognize our students' achievements.
Okay, so going to the nitty-gritty of all the budget numbers for this fee. So the good news is that it's a little bit less complicated than the past 2 fees we've been presenting. So the first side of the equation we have revenue and expenses. So the first side of the equation is revenue. So our biggest 4 things that happen with revenue is the student fee, which is CSU fee, which are presented to y'all right now, rental income, self-generated income, and interest income. So student fee assessment is looking at an increase along with almost everything else that comes with these income, just make sure we keep up with expenses. So that's looking from a transition from 2.9 million to roughly 3 million. And we'll dive a little more into like why that fee assessment is the way it is right now. So looking into other income, first off rental income. So that is just the different spaces we have being rented out to CSU through the different aspects provided to CSU. So there are some facilities here in the CSU that don't pay rent and it's just part of the integrated process of CSU. There is some aspects in the CSU experience that is rented out through different contracts and through different rental services. Example, this would be the Veterans Center, LGBT Center, and Counseling Center. So the renting has increased for the people who are still renting for the CSU, but sadly there has been a couple cuts to what kind of entities are renting out to CSU. So we lost 2 people who are renting out ATM services. So that's roughly, I want to say $15,000 right there. And we also lost the conference and university scheduling aspect of the CSU, which is another $15,000. So while the rates for rent has increased, the people utilizing rents has decreased. So it is an overall decrease for rental income for next fiscal year. And our self-generated revenue will go a lot more into this in the next couple of slides, so I'll table that for a little later discussion. And interest income, so we see this a little bit with residential life already, where like there is a lot of people that, like there's a lot of capital products that are being done by CSU, and with those capital products come interest income. That is income that is given through the debt service and is given back to the CSU counting as revenue. These are incomes that don't have fixed rates and change a lot, and it's completely out of our control. But the rate has increased a lot over the past couple academic years, and it's projected to do the same for fiscal year 26. Next slide, please.
In terms of expenses, I would gonna highlight we see that the key areas of the units have been increased compared to the previous years. So I would highlight the employee services, which has increased 1,981,467 to $2,170,733. It's about like $89,266. It's due to our anticipated salary increases for our student payroll and full-time staff. Also, I would like to highlight the other operating expenses, which is also increased about $8,763. So in all over, to cover all those expenses, we would like to propose the student union fee increase to 10.84 cents from 10.43 cents in previous 2025 year. it's about 0.41 dollar increases per credit, about 3.9% in the student fee assessment.
Next slide, please. Okay, so let's dive a little bit more into the deeper differences for expenses. Like there has been quite a few changes for expenses for fiscal year 25, which is this academic year, and fiscal year 26, which is next academic year. So one of the biggest increases is salary and fringe benefits. So this is basically compensation to people who are working through CSU through a full-time equivalent position. So this is kind of, so like this is a lot of positions that have been already negotiated, already been contracted, are kind of set right now to be increasing compensation as the cost of living and be able to operate as a person in this world has also increased. So like that is standard. So that 9% increase is kind of standard to salary and fringe benefit increases that have been happening across the university as a whole. And we're also looking at 7.9% increase for student help. So this is mostly to address the possibility of increasing wages. So like there has been a lot of ideas for wages to increase and for compensation for students who are really the lifeblood of the CSU, making the organization as a building work is like making sure that they are paid on like a really good rate. So that is possible preparation for increase for graduate assistants to further compensation for tuition, and also for student workers to make sure they're able to keep up with the base wage of whatever that'll be for next academic year. And total non-salary excluding student help is also kind of expenses that are just journal expenses. So like as we've seen with the past few budget presentations, the journal costs are going up just as things go on a general trend. So this is following a general trend of just increasing by 1.4%. So if we net all these different increases and put it into actual numbers, is a total 2.6% increase of expenses between last fiscal year, this fiscal year. And if you want to put that into monetary value, that'll be an increase in expenses of like roughly $104,000. Next slide, please.
So here is the overall pie chart of self-generated revenue plan, which we have a big amount from rental portion, which is 47.35%, and others are interest, commission, games and rec, and other revenue. Next slide, please.
Okay, and just to have self-assuredness for just how well this budget could be for next academic year, like we are looking to have like zero difference between what we have for revenue expenses. So if we do have more, if everything goes well for estimated revenue, then it'll net out for the expenses as well. So we're looking at roughly revenue of $4 million, and we're going to try to match the expenses by as much as we can for next fiscal year if things go well. Next slide, please.
So our next for the so our recommendation for the next fiscal year 2025 is to increase our student union fee to 10.84 cents compared to 10.43 cents in last year. It would be increase 0.41 cents and change it'd be like 3.991 cents in student assessment fee.
Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, this is basically a 5-year timeline of what the fee has been for CSU fee for this past 4 or so fiscal years, and the general request that has been happening for this area. So recently it has been close to the zeros or even the negatives just because of how well CSU has been doing. But looking between the previous academic year and this academic year, there has been some major changes within our revenue expense sources. So on the revenue end, as I mentioned, there has been a lot of cuts for rental income, and while we are able to increase the rental rates for it, there's also a decrease in just people who are wanting to do renting through CSU, causing a decrease in our ability to have that source of revenue. And on top of that, and while our revenues are declining, our expenses are increasing. With that, just the general expenses of life and just having the general expenses of CSU services increasing, we're also looking for an increase in compensation for not just staff, but for students, and making sure that compensation is followed through and well effective for everyone who makes the CSU building as good as it can be through working through CSU through services. We're looking for an increase of 3.9%. Next slide, please.
So if you have any question, we're ready for that.
Alrighty, I'll open the floor up for questions. Senator Dietrich.
So you mentioned that there was a loss of rental income. Are we talking like, so I know that the bookstore and I imagine Sodexo and Affinity Plus all pay rent. Who is no longer renting from us, or is it a group of people, like several different places that are no longer renting from us?
Yeah, it's the university scheduling office. It's already goes under the administration, so they are paying the rental for the next fiscal year.
So yeah, so just to give more details on it, yes, the scheduling is the scheduling will still be paying for the services that being there, but it's transitioning from fees into a general fund. So that'll be a big boom with the leads to that specific revenue. And we're also losing 2 other people who are who look to rent through CSU, which is 2 ATM vendors.
Senator Thappo.
Yeah. On slide number 6, there was this thing called banded max. What is that?
This one? Yeah, it's a 6.
So this one is this fee is about like there a student would be 12 credits. Yeah.
So yeah, so this is the same kind of product for the rest of the fees in this university. So there's 2 ways to look at paying for fees. There's a per credit basis or a full-time student basis. So per credit basis is a 10.84 cost. We can multiply it by 12 to be a banded student of credits to banded from 12 to 18 credits. So like that was rough. So if you multiply 10.4 times 12, I believe the answer you would get would be $260.
President Narala.
So how are you getting the 250 for full-time student? Because if it's per credit and if you're banding it, that's 1043 times 12.
That's 125.
16.
Do you have a context, Mark?
I think it works out. I don't have that worked out for me right now, but I know it works out. Whatever that number totally was times, do you have your calculator? Per semester. Yeah, per semester. Times 2.
125, 16 times 2 is 250.
So per year, per academic year,
It's
okay.
for a full year, it's 2 semesters, so split in half.
And for 1 year, that would be $20.86, okay. Yeah.
And then we have Senator Karki on Zoom. So Senator Karki, you can unmute.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. And on slide 11, I know we had a little bit of this conversation on committee too, but a little more context on just the hike and upper hike and lower hike on the increases like every other year, just to get some context on that would be helpful.
Yeah, so there could be additional context from other people as well, but from the context I've interpreted, for looking for that decrease, there has been constant and consistent increases in revenue, where that be, and the primary source of revenue that's been increasing from my knowledge would be interest income. So that has been increasing quite a bit, and we also have no big expenses that have been increasing on top of that, like student wages. Whereas for the hike that we're looking at right now, there is still an increase in interest income, but it's also a decrease in other big revenues like renting. And we're also having really big pushes for increases in other services that have not been seen in the past couple academic years, like wage increases for students.
Yeah, I can yield.
Okay, yep, we have a yield to Mark.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing I think related to her question. You'll see one dip here and that 3.8%. We ended one of our bonds at that time. And so we were able to save a decent amount of money for the next year, and rather than keep that in the budget, we recommended lowering the CSU budget in that given year, so we weren't taxing yourselves and your families anymore for that. So when you see that big decrease there, it was mainly because of one of the bonds going down. And last year, I'll speak to this at 24-25, that small dip was because the union board made a decision not to give money for student wages that the administration had asked to put in the budget, because we put that in the budget the previous year, but the student increases did not go up. And so a decision was made not to give the student union, in this case, that money in that given year, because they thought it was already in reserves from the year before, basically. And I'll speak one more thing about that, because some of you might jump on this, would maybe recognize this. When you saw the student wages increase, that 7-point-something or other percent, the reason why that's so large this year is because our recommendation was to go to $13 as a placeholder, but it was only $12 the year before. If we got that increase last year, it would have been $12.50 going to $13, but it was going a double time because we didn't get to $12.50 last year, so it was a full dollar increase. So that's why that percentage looks a little bit higher in that given year, and I think it's important for the Senate to understand that piece.
And then second and last question, Senator Dietrich.
Is it okay if it's a two-part question? Or kind of just a clarification about this and then a proper question? Yeah, sure. Okay. So on 23-24, you have positive 0.15 cents, but then a negative 1.4. Is that a typo? Okay. All right. And then my other question is, so if you're allocating money ahead of time for anticipating an increase in the minimum for student wages, is it possible, even if the increase doesn't happen, that you just pay the students the $13.50 minimum anyway?
Could someone yield to Mark?
We're yielding to Mark.
If it goes to $13.50, is that your question?
So my question is, if we're allocating money for the event that it goes to $13.50 and it doesn't, will the CSU pay students $13.50 minimum anyway?
Two thoughts here. We did not go ahead and put $13.50 in this budget.
Okay.
We put $13 in the budget. We increased 50 cents. But to answer maybe your thoughts on this, if it does go to $13.50, we will not come back to this body to ask for more money. We will pay the students whatever the university goes ahead and makes the decision for the 13, if it's $13.50, and we'll try to make up that money within the budget. If we don't make the money up within the budget, we have a reserve, and we will go to reserves to do that. But the CSU will not come back to the student government next year and be asking for the extra 50 cents if it does go up, because we think we can manage that within our budget. Good.
And I think that was part of the conversation last year, and recognizing that the student union would not be accounting for an increase, we'd be sticking with the campus minimum wage and the peripherals of the different wage groups. We decided that it would be beneficial if we did not account for that increase and recommended a decrease instead last year. So that was part of the discussions.
I guess one add-on with this too is important that this budget, we did exactly like we did in the student activities fee budget. We asked people to go ahead and make a guesstimate of $13 an hour. So this budget was set up just like the staff budget for campus recreation, student activities, because we typically, Teresa and I are making recommendations to those groups, and that's what we thought was an estimated guess.
Senator Ide.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a point of clarification. I'm sorry, Mark, I'm a little hard of hearing, so it's hard to fully make out. I'm unsure, so did what I hear is that if there isn't a fee, if there isn't a raise of the minimum wage to $13.50, would you still be paying that $13.50 wage?
No.
Okay, sorry, I just misheard, and then I had my actual question. I can just go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second one then.
Well, that was a point of clarification. I just didn't hear him correctly.
Okay, sure, we just have to wrap stuff up. so-
Okay, and then I was just going to ask, are there any plans to reinstate a renter in the areas that were previously going to be rented out? You mentioned there was, I believe, an ATM that was there. With this increase of renting cost, do you have plans to also reinstate a renter there to recuperate some funds?
Currently, we don't have any plan, but we are looking for.
And then I had a second follow-up question to that. So allocating for the expenses increase, you're asking for a nearly 4% increase, which accounting for the balance, which shown in a previous slide, it would, to kind of balance everything out, it would be a 2.6% increase, to be even with the prior years. Taking this in account, and additionally with the over $3 million that you guys have in reserve, is there reasoning to, instead of increasing the fee, to use the reserves that you guys have?
Yes, like the biggest reason with this current commission is that for fees right now, like there is sentiment to make it so like we just have consistent funding for expenses through the base of CSU fees. So like it's like often it's like kind of following the same rhetoric of the student activity fee. Like there's some one-time expenses that can be utilized to cover stuff through reserves, but there's not really too many one-time expenses through CSU fee. And a lot of the stuff that happens to a CSU fee is on a yearly expense rate and like will not expire much anytime soon. So like that's kind of shifting the same kind of perspectives for the reserves. And while we do have quite a few reserves in a CSU, like there's still plans for reserves donate to be utilized through capital projects such as the 201 and 204 renovation, as I mentioned previously, and also ways to renovate the area around CSU Mabav roughly 2 summers from now.
All right, thank you.
Senator Riggle, you still have a
Sure,
question?
yeah, I think there was a little bit of confusion with the difference between 13 and 1350. To try and re-clarify Senator Dietrich's question, because there's currently money being allocated, so there's currently, because you anticipated a $13 possible raise in making the budget, regardless of whether a campus-wide raise is instantiated or not, will you pay the student workers that are paid under the CSU budget that $13 that was allocated within creating the budget?
I think that question's already been answered. Yeah. If it stays at $12.50 like it currently is, it'll be $12.50. If it goes to $13, it will go up to $13. But if it doesn't go up from $12.50 to $13, our students will not get, they'll get whatever the minimum is for the uniform.
So it's a higher estimate regardless of what happens, basically?
It's a middle estimate.
Yeah.
Because what you're gonna be voting on.
Because there's the prospective $13.50 and then there's the current $12.50, so it's like a middle ground kind of to just make an estimate around it.
That was a fiscal conservative guesstimate on our part to go ahead and put that into the budget. You're all gonna be talking about something later about a $13.50. I think you have a referendum coming up to talk about that, but some of us were on that other committee and we said the committee recommended going up to $13.50 to the cabinet. And nothing's been decided on that at this point in time. Just to make sure, everybody on the same page, it's $12.50 now. If it doesn't go up, it'll be $12.50 what our students will be getting paid, other than there's different categories within those. If it goes up to $13.50 next year, we'll be paying $13.50 and we'll have to find 50 cents more from what we budgeted in order to pay our students $13.50.
And with the recommendation of the CSU board, like we give this recommendation to y'all with a very strong operating assumption that will be 13 minimum for at least 13 minimum for student wage.
Yeah, so if you didn't understand that whole confusion thing, like what Mark is saying, that if the university decides to go to $13.50, they will pull money out of their reserves to pay the students the minimum wage. So no matter what, students are gonna get paid. It might be from the set budget, it might come from reserves, they're still gonna get paid. Okay, everyone's still gonna get paid. President Rolla.
I would also like to comment and note, it is up to the departments to decide how they utilize their budget. We can definitely recommend, but it is not our authority to direct them on things.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Alrighty.
I have one clarification.
Okay,
I
one
think it'd be
clarification.
important. One of the senators mentioned a number in reserves, and that, I don't know where he got that number necessarily, but it was inaccurate. So I just want to let people know that there's not $3 million in reserves right now that's available for thing. The real number is $2.3 million that we have in reserves. And remind people that Windows project that we had for last year cost $1.4 million, and that's why you have reserves. But then I just want to make sure that that $3 million was not an accurate number. I'm not getting on the senator. I think it's important for the rest of the senators to know that that number was not right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Saying that there's no other questions, thank you for coming and presenting to us. Alrighty. Getting through the rest of our agenda, hopefully. We are moving on to officer reports, so that I'm yielding to President.
Thank you. Welcome back from spring break, everyone. Right before we headed out for spring break, I had the opportunity to meet with our vice presidential candidates who are on campus, and it was really exciting. Thank you for everyone who joined in on the student sessions for IT candidates and who attended the open forums for the advancement candidates. I come to you with a couple of updates. I want to thank everyone who attended Lobby Day earlier last month. As of yesterday, we now have a senator in the Minnesota Senate sponsoring our bill for graduate student work hour caps. Senator Verbaden has agreed to sponsor a legislation, and I want to thank you all for the work that we did together during Lobby Day. Over spring break, I was out on our federal fly-in over to DC. DC was really exciting, folks, and it was also pretty gloomy given that we were there on the eve of a potential shutdown. But we did get to meet with all of Minnesota delegation. We met with Senators Smith and Klobuchar, and then a bunch of representatives and their legal aides. We were able to advocate for Pell eligibility and TRIO, and you guys might have received an all-student email. If you guys want to send a message to your representatives, check out that email, go to the link and send a message to our representatives. And if you want to know more about the DC trip, definitely reach out to me after Senate. There's a lot of meetings over the next couple of weeks. We're asking you all to be on top of your game. If we miss a couple of your emails, please shoot us multiple emails. We don't mind. And if you need anything from us, definitely let us know. I'll also cover Vice President Jay's report. So that way both of us can do it at one. Vice President Jay is online, but she's working remote, so you can definitely reach out to her if you have any questions about your senator projects. She'll be following up with all of you pretty soon. Their presidential and vice presidential applications for candidates for next year are due on Monday. So definitely fill out those applications, and their applications will be closing soon shortly after. There are a couple of events that we'd like you to attend, and hopefully those count as office hours. There's one event that's coming up next week, which is an open town hall organized by Common Cause Minnesota that is happening at Weeking Center 220. You could either attend the town hall or you could volunteer to help put things up. I think they're planning like a little tea and then some giveaways and stuff, so you could help with the setting up of the event and then tearing down, or you could just attend the event. They've invited people from Greater Mankato Diversity Council, ARC Minnesota, COPOL, Mankato Islamic Center. And then from what I can see, Representative Luke Frederick, Senator Rick Darheim, Representative Olson and Torkelson have confirmed. They're trying to get a confirmation from Governor Walz if he'd be attending, but we'll see. If you're available and you wanna attend the open town hall, definitely write your name on here. I'll send you a calendar invite and more details about the event. Now that we're up and near budget season, next week is the big budget meeting. If you guys need a letter of excused absence, fill this form out and we'll email that over to you. Just as a reminder, you're expected to be here at CSU 238 from 3 p.m. So if you have classes that start at 3 p.m. or that go into 3 p.m., we'll send you a letter of excused absence so that you're attending the Senate meeting here. And you might be expected to stay after 6 p.m. So if you have classes that go after Senate meeting on Wednesdays, we'll send you a letter of excused absence for those classes as well. What I'd like you to do is fill out this form and we'll send you those letters through email. There's also another column that I made here. So if you need your placards for next week, I'd like to make sure that every one of you has your placards. Make sure you bring your placards with you if you don't have them. And if you need them, I'd like to see your name here or send me a message or an email. Any questions?
So my class on Wednesday is an aviation class, so required by the FAA. Have you ever had to deal with that regarding?
We can chat about it after.
What day is this?
That would be, did I write it on top or no?
29th.
29th of March, if you could write that on top. Thank you.
Alrighty, any other questions for President Narala or about Vice President Jay's report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to mine. I'm gonna try to keep this quick. So Amber was polite enough to let you all extend your deadline for inviting any departments from SAC, even though we've sent numerous emails and Teams messages to you all. If you have any departments from the student activity fee budget presentation that you want to bring in to ask more questions, please send me a Teams message right now of any departments you wanna bring in, or else we are not talking or discussing their budget next week. Okay, so like you've had your chance, you've had like 2 weeks to do this, and you've had multiple reminders. So if we get there and you're like, oh, I wanna talk about this group, no. Okay, we're not doing that. So this is your last reminder to do that, okay? Okay. And then President Roller discussed the excused absent letter, so I don't need to talk about that. We also attended the budget submeet meeting yesterday, so lots of good discussions there. Hopefully at the next one, we'll be finalizing the student wages for next year. And that's next week. Okay, and then also, once you all send the final list of invites about SAC department, I'm gonna be spending like tomorrow and Friday to work with Amber on getting like a time specific thing set out for the budget. We are allocating probably like the first hour to athletics, and then after that, we'll do all the SAC departments and then things like that. So that's kind of how next week is going to break down. Speaking of next week with the long budget meeting, we are requesting that you wear your formal attire next week. Please and thank you. Formal attire, like business clothes, things like that. Great. And then also snacks and beverages, we've been getting asked about that. So like you can have like some like snackies like goldfish or whatever. And you can have like water or like something with a lid, things like that, cans, as long as you're not spilling them, because that we're not dealing with that mess. But also on that note, please be mindful of like common allergies, like don't bring anything with nuts or things like that in it. So like no peanut butter, no nuts, whatever else is a common allergen, those are like the things that are coming to my mind right now. Okay, and just to be respectful of not only the people in this room, but also like of people who might be attending from the gallery. And on allergens, if you do have any special dietary restrictions, like if you're gluten-free, vegan, whatever else you may be, please send those to Amber as soon as possible because she did place the food order today for the budget meeting, but she can always send in a special note to get any other options. And I know she did send emails and messages to folks, so if you've not done that, please do so or else you're SOL. So sorry. Great. That's my report. I'm done. Any questions? No. John?
Speaker, if I may just make a further comment regarding your request for information. As noted, in the Teams folder, we've talked about this before, there is a Word document for each fee area. So we would ask that if you do have specific questions that you would like to be addressed, that you enter those into those Word documents in the Teams folder so that we can share those with the areas. Because some of the questions that you might have might not be ones they can answer right off the top of their head. And so if they need a chance to do any research or to look up something or a historical trend or whatever, if you have a question, please note those in there because we will send those to the departments on Monday morning so that they have a time to be able to look up stuff if they need to before the presentation. Same thing for all of the fee areas. So if you have questions regarding any of the departments in the student activity fee, please put them in there. If you have questions for any of the tech fee, athletics fee, all of that kind of stuff, please put them in those appropriate documents as well so that we can share those with those departments.
Thank you. Anything else for me? I'm saying no. So too bad. Alrighty, moving on. Senator reports, the written ones, they're all uploaded in Teams. You also got the email. Vacancies closed, just so you know, we did have a College of Business senator resign, so that seat's open, but it's closed. Thank you to our solo College of Business senator for sticking through. Thanks. That's great. Alrighty, so since I expedited that, we're going to new business. We're gonna briefly talk about these. Hopefully y'all did your homework in committee and actually looked at all this stuff already. So first one is the Narcan resolution. Zelmer and Roshan, you can talk about this.
I'll kind of kick it off. So this resolution just basically states that we're acknowledging that there is an opioid epidemic going on, which there is. And it also talks about having Narcan or naloxone products installed into our res halls. So minimum of 2 of those products in res halls and accessible places for residents and employees and anything like that. So like an AED box. And then it also kind of promotes more overdose prevention training towards students and employees and all that kind of stuff.
Any other
I'll just add on the resolution is in alignment with a bill that's already introduced in Minnesota Senate, SF 169, I believe. And so we're just making sure we're prepared to address those regulations of having opioid antagonists available on campus. It's definitely useful for our students, and it's better that we have those available. Thank you.
Cool. Any questions or discussion points? Alright, seeing none. Is there a motion to vote on this? To expedite this? Do you want not expedite this? Or we wait 2 weeks?
I would recommend waiting on it. I know we're not gonna be voting on resolutions next week. We'll definitely be voting on it the week after. That will give you time to talk with your constituents and then make comments on the resolutions when we come back in 2 weeks' time. So, and then if you come up with any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those in 2 weeks' time.
Second.
Cool, since there's no discussion or anything, we're done with that issue. Going to the second resolution, student wages one. President Narala, VPJ.
Awesome. With this resolution, we're asking that we increase the minimum student wages for students working hourly on campus from $12.50 over to $13.50. That was a recommendation that we made last year, keeping in mind with our standing with other sister institutions across the system, and keeping ourselves competitive with other employers across Mankato. The university did meet us there. So halfway there with increasing the wages from $12 over to $12.50, and it has really helped increase student retention. We've seen an increase in work study students working on different offices across campus, and it's definitely helped our students. This year we're asking the same to meet us with the original request of increasing student wages over to $13.50 an hour. And Becca says she yields.
Any questions, comments? Anyone? Perfect. This will also be moved into old business for in 2 weeks. Great, yay, happy fun times. Alrighty, so then we're moving on to announcements. Are there any announcements? David beat you to it. David Cowan.
Tomorrow at 11:30, we have our annual hearing on parking budgets. You're all invited. There will be no food served. Starts at 11:30, gets over at 12:30, then the Parking and Transportation Committee votes on whatever hearing testimony we listened to or got written comments about. One of the big things is basically a $2 per month or $1.67 per month increase in parking fees. Some might call it a 6% increase. This Senate will remember that several months ago, an 8% was recommended, and that $26,000 was cut out of the recommendation. So now we're down to basically a 6% increase, primarily due to staffing for security, wage settlements, which are not yet negotiated for next year, and fringe benefits on top of those salaries. And pothole maintenance. So we have $140,000 set aside for 25-26 for repairs. We still have a couple $100,000 we owe on $1 million loan that we got to repair lot 1. And that's it. So please show up and listen to us talk numbers, more numbers for tomorrow.
Yeah. One of the other things on the docket is fines on the free lot. So definitely consider attending if you need contents to share. There's a video on our Instagram page that I recommend you share with your friends about more information on the open forum. Thank you.
I'm going to charge the Senate for that. Yeah, I was pillared, put up against a wall, and they had a camera on. Not fair.
Thank you, David. We appreciate it.
Senator Regal.
All right, guys, it is March. It is Women's History Month, and the Women's Center has a few events planned. So tonight at 6 o'clock, the Women's Center is hosting their big Women's History Month event. It's called Unboxing Barbie. It's gonna be a whole thing. There's 3 different stations. It's all Barbie themed. It's very pink. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Liz has been looking forward to this for months. So a lot of hard work and heart has gone into this event. And then tomorrow, there's also the Karaoke for a Cause event, in which Serendipity Karaoke is teaming up with the students events team to raise money for different things. And one of those things is, a couple of those things is CADA and the Violence Awareness and Response Program. And so I'm gonna be there, and it is at 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock at Ostrander Auditorium. And that should be a lot of fun because one of our student workers is trying to bully me and our director Denise into doing a joint karaoke song. So if that's something you want to see, you can show up then. Those are my announcements.
Thank you. Senator Livingston, I already know yours, so.
There's a, having a,
Bipartisan roundtable.
she guessed it, hosting a Maverick bipartisan roundtable that's taking place tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. in the flexible programming space next to Chick-fil-A. I would love to see you all there. It's just supposed to be like a heart-to-heart discussion about issues facing college students. Hopefully bridge some divides or attempt to. Yeah, love to see you there.
Thank you. Senator Dietrich.
So tonight at 7:30 in the Memorial Library, the first floor, is the ribbon cutting kind of opening night event for an exhibit that has been going across the U.S. It is a Holocaust themed exhibit. It's taking a look at how the Holocaust was perceived and experienced by Americans during that time. It's a really great exhibit, and I highly recommend that anyone who is able to attend that tonight do so. There's going to be a lot of campus leadership there, and so it'd be really amazing to see a lot of participation by student leaders as well at that event tonight. That is at 7:30 Memorial Library, first floor.
Thank you. John?
Madam Speaker, I'm going to piggyback on a couple of things because one of my announcements is related. This traveling exhibit is a big deal. It's kind of an honor to be able to host this event on our campus. And so it is here for an extended period of time. If you are not able to make it tonight to the ribbon cutting, I encourage you to at least take it in and experience it yourself at some point while it is here on campus. So it would be a great experience for all of you. I'm now going to make an announcement that is also connected to Reese's announcement. One of the other groups that is benefiting from Karaoke for a Cause tomorrow night is Mavathon. Mavathon is one of the largest student-run philanthropic events on campus. It's known nationally as Dance Marathon, it benefits Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And our local Children's Miracle Network hospital is Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare. They have their main branch in the Twin Cities, but they also have an outpatient clinic here in Mankato. And so they do touch people in our community in a profound way. Some of our students, some of you in this room, who knows, may have been a Gillette patient before and somebody who has benefited from Children's Miracle Network. And so Mavathon is taking place, the big event for Mavathon is taking place this Saturday from 4 to 8 in the ballroom. That event is kind of a celebration of fundraising efforts that have taken place throughout the course of the last year. And so people can participate as part of a team, or they can be an individual fundraiser and come and celebrate the effort. And so registration is available at msudancemarathon.com. So if you go to that, you'll see time, you can create a profile and either fundraise or just make a donation yourself to come into the event. But that event has been going on campus for well over 10 years now. And like I said, it's been one of the largest student-run philanthropic events over the course of its time here. So encourage you to come out to that if you would care to do so. There will be food, there will be dancing, of course. It's not all just dancing, but some fun activities and prizes throughout the way. And the student leadership team has worked for a year to make this happen. So it's an annual tradition, and encourage you to come out if you can on Saturday.
Thank you. Senator Reyes?
Hi, y'all. Hope your spring break was relaxing and everything. Mine was. I got to go with the speech and debate team and drove 13 hours to Ohio University for Pi Kappa Delta Speech and Debate Nationals. Just a little update. We took 5 students total, 4 debaters. So we had 2 debaters in the novice division. That's for the first year only in competitive college debate. They finished with winning records, so they got top 30 in their division, which is really cool. We had 1 JV debater, which is for first 2 years of competition, also had a winning record, top 3rd in the nation, so that's really cool. This speech and debate nationals is this really cool thing where they celebrate different languages. So they have Spanish exclusive events. So you can go and do your speech entirely in Spanish to celebrate different events. And we actually had a freshman who got top novice, so top first year in the category, and got 2nd in the nation. So that's really cool news to celebrate. I know a lot of things are going on, but yeah, just thought I'd share with you.
And then Senator Isaac on Zoom.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
We cannot hear you.
Oh, thank you. If I speak
There we
loud?
go.
Okay.
We got you now.
Thank you for your attention. I have 2 announcements. The first one is that tomorrow the UNIR delegation, we're going to our first Models in Our Nations in Minneapolis. We're going to spend the weekend on a conference with 10 other universities. Just for you to have a heads up, we will let you know how it goes. And my second announcement is that I published a book this Sunday night. It's available for free access on my webpage. It's about Maria Corina Machado. She is the last opposition leader standing in the Venezuelan history. She's currently the one that's supporting the president that was elected in July. And it's an X-ray to the political photobiography of her and the context of how she got to the place and the moment that we are living in now in Venezuela. It's a very important thing for reading. It's very educational and self-explanatory of what's going on in my country. Well, that was it.
Alrighty, Senator Isaac, it was a little muffled on our end, but if you want to post the information in our Teams chat, that'd be great, like the Teams channel. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And then Senator Ide.
Just mirroring kind of the muffled part of Senator Isaac's speech. The Mankato University Model UN team is going to be going to Minneapolis this weekend. We have about 10 people going to participate. Wish us luck. For those 10 people, I believe 8 of them have never participated in a conference, so we have a lot of novices, but I'm confident that we're going to do a great job. Additionally, just to keep the announcement short, I'd like to urge everybody, again, just like our President Narala was saying earlier, please fill out that TRIO Pell Grant message to the senators. Over 1/6 of the university uses and relies on those Pell Grants to actually go to school here. So it's really, I can't stress this enough, it's really important that those programs stay alive along with TRIO. Many people, I don't have a number, but many people rely on those just as a first generation college student. So please take out the time of 5 minutes, that's how long it took me, 5 minutes just to fill it out. Thank you.
John.
Sorry to have another one, but I did not hear this announced, but I just want to make sure as we are into election season and knowing that Vice President Jay is out ill, the filing deadline for candidates wishing to run for president and vice president in the student government election is this coming Monday. So candidates must file as a candidate pair for president and vice president. So that is, again, the deadline is this coming Monday. The deadline for people running for all other Senate boards, commissions, committees, that deadline is the following Monday, March 31st, okay? And then the following week after that, we will have an election. So again, just make sure that folks know that. The first rules reading, the first official rules reading, the scheduled rules reading will be Tuesday, March 25th. So the day after the filing deadline for presidents and vice president pairings. So again, those deadlines are quickly coming up. We do know that the next few weeks are extremely busy between budgets and elections. So please keep that in mind. If you have questions, please reach out to Chief Election Commissioner Jay or the election website on the student government page.
Alrighty, thank you. No more announcements, unless there's some from the gallery.
Bowling
Oh,
3
yeah.
weeks from today.
Yep, bowling April 9th, my birthday.
We're winning.
That's it.
I think David's got the trophy in his office.
Well, it looks like it's gonna find a new home. Sorry. Moving on to final roll call. If y'all can just hang tight for a minute, that'd be great. Senator Hassan, Senator Leon, Senator Franson is on Zoom, Senator Mucci, Senator Prignitz, Senator Emke is on Zoom, Senator Ponte, Senator Bugney, Senator Reyes,
Here.
Senator Maega, Senator Thapa,
Here.
Senator Mpenga, Senator Lee,
Here.
Senator Dietrich,
Here.
Senator Smith,
Here.
Senator Green's not here, Senator Johnson, Senator Moore's absent, Senator Maba's on Zoom, Senator Knauer's on Zoom, Senator Karki's on Zoom, Senator Livingston,
Here.
Senator Riggle,
Here.
Senator Collard,
Present.
Senator Zelmer,
Present.
Senator Ide,
Here.
Senator Helsted,
Present.
Senator Isaacs on Zoom, I'm here, President Arello,
Present.
and VPJ is on Zoom, and we are adjourned at 5:53 PM. Sorry, I didn't know.
I was in QR code, I was trying to like.
I mean,
year, I will still have it.
Not technically.
Hey Reese, did you wanna chat about the question?